Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TVS Nightline. I'm Muhammad Yusuf, and let us begin with our top story. A total of 485 employees of the Sarawak Social Welfare Department (JKM) are prepared to face any flood situation in Sarawak. State Women, Children and Community Welfare Development Minister Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah said, besides that, a total of 42 department vehicles are also ready to be mobilized if needed in any flood operation. She said Sarawak JKM has ready 23 disaster-forward bases in the state to prepare for any flood disaster.
Pangkalan hadapan bencana, forward base, merupakan satu tempat bangunan atau premis bagi menyimpan stok barang bantuan bencana di kawasan yang mudah dilanda banjir dan yang kerap terputus hubungan. Barang-barang bantuan akan dibekalkan sebelum musim tengkujuh, iaitu lingkungan bulan Oktober setiap tahun, dan stok barangan disimpan di pangkalan hadapan untuk tempoh 6 bulan.
Fatimah also said that 157 suppliers of dried foodstuff and 231 suppliers of cooked food have been identified to distribute food aid to affected victims. Besides that, a storage depot for disaster victims in Samarhan has also been prepared. The depot has a capacity to store 432 tons of disaster supplies. In a related news, Sarawak in principle agrees with the federal government's proposal to introduce a special task force to develop a communication system that can establish an early warning system for the people. Assistant Minister of Corporate Affairs, Information and Sarawak Public Communications Unit, Dato' Abdullah Saidul said the system should be implemented as soon as possible, especially at high-risk areas. Similarly, he said weather forecasting and warning systems cannot be taken lightly, as it was very important in the effort to reduce the effects of natural disasters.
Ancaman cuaca yang ekstrim ini juga menyebabkan hakisan tebingan laut dan sungai. Maka sistem ramalan dan amaran cuaca tidak boleh dipandang ringan dan semakin penting kerana aktiviti-aktiviti atau pelaksanaan pembangunan negeri atau negara semakin bergantung kepada faktor cuaca.
Abdullah said so with regards to the recent statement by the Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa, in which he said that the communication system and the delivery system needs to be improved. Before this, there were allegations that early warning system was slow when disasters affected several areas in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Negeri Sembilan and Melaka. As of now, the police had confirmed 54 fatalities while 2 are still missing. On to the next news. Datuk Sri Stephen Rundi Utom has officially received a letter of appointment to helm the Ministry of Agriculture, Modernisation and Regional Development, and said his main focus will be to elevate Sarawak's status until it becomes a net food producer and exporter, and at the same time assist rural farmers to commercialise their products. Presenting the letter was Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Ahmad Douglas Ugal Ambas, who is now the second Minister of Finance and New Economy, cum Minister of Infrastructure and Port Development.
The ceremony was also attended by the ministry's former Assistant Minister, Datuk Roland Sagahui, who has been appointed as the Minister of Education, Innovation and Talent Development, as well as Dr. Abdul Rahman Ismail and Martin Ben, who were appointed as the ministry's Assistant Ministers. In Rundi's brief speech, he stated that the agriculture sector is one of the main enablers of the state's post-COVID-19 development strategy, PCDS, to become a high-income state by the year 2030. And he hoped to emulate UGA's work culture, as the ministry has seen much improvement in recent years. UGA meanwhile conveyed his appreciation to everyone from all agencies under the ministry for their full support during his tenure for the last 5 years.
It gets more challenging. These are words uttered by Dato' Ahmad Douglas Ugal Ambas when he was reappointed as the chairman of the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC). The department will be addressing not only COVID-19 related cases, but also the imminent flash flood that could occur anytime.
Into COVID, dan itu kita mesin maya monsun, maya hari hujan, Jadi dekat tentu ke kita di Sarawak tu datang sedia lebih lagi tidak selalu apa bahnya. Kalau kita ya nak susah nak terperangkap lapan lepas maya bah. Dan situ kita tanggungjawab STMC keberatnya dia tu punya maka dia tahu tu tadi di si apa rumah si kena ribut. Ini dia tanya sikap dia tu lepas perintah si bantu saya apa rumah saya kat situ sah tadi. Jadi ya nambah ke portfolio aku ke dia tu yang jadi chairman SDMC beberapa hari kemarin.
The appointment letter was handed over to UGA by the State Secretary, Dato' Amar Jaul Samion, and was witnessed by the advisor of SDMC, Dato' Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian, Deputy State Secretary for Rural Transformation, Dato' I Pahon Joyi, and Acting Director for the State Health Department, Dr. Rosmawati Arifin. For the record, on 6 November 2021, UGA passed the duties of SDMC chairman to Jaul following the dissolution of the Sarawak State Legislative Assembly to make way for the 12th Sarawak State election. Now, Parti Pusaka Bumiputera Bersatu PBB will draw up strategies and work harder in the next few months to get closer to the young people who will be voting for the first time in the 15th General Election GE15. PBB Vice President Dr. Anwar Rapai said the automatic enforcement of voting rights for those aged 18 years old called for a different approach by political parties, as young voters needed to be engaged more frequently and consistently compared to the older groups.
Adding to that, he said it needed to be done more often and in a consistent manner to ensure the outcome of Undi 18 is positive and beneficial. A federal government gazette dated December 1st, 2021 stated that the automatic registration of voters aged 18 and above came into effect on December 15 the same year. Dr. Anwar, a three-term Nangka State Assemblyman, was grateful for being able to retain the seat in the recent Sarawak State election with a majority of more than 10,000 votes. He added, retaining the majority seats in the upcoming election will not be an easy task under the new norm. Hence, PBB will have to go all out from the very beginning.
Now, Sarawak has now transitioned into Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan NRP, as announced on the 3rd of January by Defence Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Hussein. The transition comes with a relaxation to the Standard Operating Procedure SOP, and among the businesses to benefit from the transition are petrol stations, as they are now allowed to operate for 24 hours. TVS reporter Nazira Abdul Rahman has the report.
For business owners, the news of the transition is definitely music to the ears for one simple reason. Longer operating hours means more business, which indirectly will support and flourish the state's economy. The news was also well accepted by the public, as most think that 24-hour operated petrol stations will benefit everyone.
Guna je lah untuk kita istirahat kejap, lelap masa kejap ke, ataupun semayang kejap ke, untuk jalan pagi lah, macam kita nak subuh, kita boleh berhenti ke stesen minyak lah. Untuk stesen minyaknya, para pengguna lebih senang lah untuk menggunakan perkhidmatan stesen minyak, apa kata bawa balik pagi ke apa, semua lebih menyenangkan lah.
Pada pendapat kami lah, agak senang lah, sebab si perlu bergaut bah. Pun dekat entah ada si dah kes nak nyurung motor apa indah nak nundak orang ke. Jadi senang lah nak beli minyak apa indah. Stesen gas dah buka je 24 jam bah. Si perlu nak tunggu pagi esok ke apa ke si. Jadi minat nak buka order terus kat rumah lah. Senang lah bagi kami.
Bagi kami pengguna juga everyday beli dah dapat diberi kelonggaran sampai pukul 12, saya senang sikit lah. Si bergaut gila lah. Ya bagi pendapat kami lah, senang.
Gas stations are among the important sectors for consumers. Thus, with the flexibility of being able to operate more than 12 p.m, it appears to provide many advantages to the public, especially for those who are in the food delivery industry. I'm Nazira Adlina and cameraman Nasrul reporting for TVS.
Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now, former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad was admitted to the National Heart Institute IJN today for an elective medical procedure. Just 2 weeks ago, the Langkawi MP was also admitted to IJN as he had to undergo a series of tests. In a statement, IJN said no visitors are allowed due to COVID-19 standard operating procedures SOPs. Mahathir, aged 96, was previously admitted to IJN on December 26th for a full checkup and was discharged a week later after he had undergone a series of medical tests. Mahathir has had cardiac problems in the past. In 1989, he had his first heart attack, followed by 2 more in 2006. The next year, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery. He was sent to the hospital again in February 2018 with a chest infection. Now, as of 1 p.m. today, a total of 44,573 or 85.7% of the 152,024 heads of households affected by the recent floods have each received the 1,000 ringgit Bantuan Wang Ehsan BWI.
Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said those who have yet to register can contact the Disaster Command Centre PKOB and district officers concerned to get the federal government aid. The government had announced the Keluarga Malaysia Flood Aid or BWI of 1,000 ringgit for the head of every affected household compared to 500 ringgit previously. The payment has been distributed since December 27 last year, just 10 days after the unusually massive floods hit several states, including Selangor, Pahang and Negeri Sembilan.
Right, on to some COVID-19 related news. The COVID-19 daily cases can reach 30,000 if measures to contain the Omicron variant are not taken. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the decision to suspend Umrah for the time being is one of the measures that must be taken to curb the transmission of the variant, given a high number of Omicron import cases coming from Saudi Arabia.
Simulasi tersebut menunjukkan bahawa ramalan Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, sekiranya kita tidak mengambil langkah-langkah pencegahan seperti penangguhan kepada umrah, penangguhan sementara dan juga langkah-langkah kuarantin dan sebagainya, kita akan melihat kes melonjak naik pada bulan bermula daripada bulan Januari hingga bulan Februari ini kepada lebih daripada 15,000 kes hari.
Khairi added that although studies showed that the Omicron variant causes milder infections compared to the Delta variant, hospital admission rate will still see an increase, even though it will be only for Categories 1 and Category 2 cases. Commenting on booster dosage, Khairi said 4 integration vaccine administration centres or PPV with larger capacity will begin operating on January 15, namely Kuala Lumpur World Trade Centre WTC KL, Axiata Arena Bukit Jalil, Ideal Convention Centre in Shah Alam or IDCC, and Sokagakai in Klang. He said so far 30% of the adult population and 52% of the elderly in Malaysia have received the booster dose.
Now, the COVID-19 Comirnaty vaccine manufactured by Pfizer has been given conditional approval for the immunization of children aged between 5 and 11 years old. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said the decision was made at the 368th meeting of the Drug Control Authority DCA on Thursday. He added that the dosage has a lower potency compared to the Comirnaty vaccine given to individuals aged 12 years old and above. Meanwhile, the meeting also approved the Comirnaty 30 mcg dosage with a new formulation for COVID-19 immunization of individuals aged 12 and above. The new formulation, he said, did not require dilution before administering and had a longer shelf life of 10 weeks compared to the existing formulation, which is 1 month, when stored at 2 degrees Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius after thawing. Meanwhile, the DCA also approved the use of the CanSino vaccine as a booster dose for individuals aged 18 and above. The booster shot could be taken at any interval or between 3 and 6 months after receiving the first dose of the same vaccine. However, he said the conditional approval still required information on the quality, safety, and effectiveness of the vaccine product, which will be monitored and evaluated continuously by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency (NPRA) based on the latest data from time to time to ensure that the comparison of benefits over risk for the vaccines remain positive. And the Ministry of Health (MOH) denied allegations that the administration of booster dosages is being done rapidly because the booster vaccines are approaching their expiration dates. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the schedule to administer booster doses used by the MOH is the same as other countries, which shortened the duration between doses from 6 months to 3 months.
Dari segi tarikh luput, untuk bulan Januari ni tak ada pun yang akan luput, semua akan digunakan, ya. Jadi bukanlah seolah-olah kita nak rush. Memang it's time 3 to 6 months, and this is the internationally accepted interval period. Lainlah kalau kita sahaja yang buat 3 bulan, negara lain tak buat 3 bulan. Tapi sebahagian besar daripada negara sudah memendekkan sela masa daripada 6 bulan ke 3 bulan. Jadi it's not a question that we are rushing it because want to expire, ya. Kita memang ada dan memang ikut.
Commenting further, Khairi said the administration of booster doses does not mean that the earlier vaccine doses were not effective. On the other hand, the period of immunity is the main factor. After a certain period of time, the vaccine immunity rate reduces and people will need to get a booster dosage injection so that the immunity rate continues to increase and is at the optimum level.
Now we know, selepas 6 bulan, kebanyakan daripada vaksin, tahap immunity mereka akan menurun sedikit dan dia perlukan sedikit top up untuk tahap imun itu naikkan semula, ya. Jadi sama ada ini akan terus menurun, perlukan top up, kita tak tahu lagi. Kita tak tahu. Dan ini bukanlah bukti seolah-olah agenda anti-vax itu betul, tidak. Ini adalah bukti bahawa ini adalah sains. Bila keberkesanan itu turun, kita top up balik supaya kita dapat liputan ataupun imunisasi yang optimum. Itu sahaja, ya.
The ministry will continue to provide scientific information and explanation to the public so that they can better understand the government's efforts in stopping the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak.
跟随4位不同舞蹈背景的舞者，体验沙劳越当地的传统文化、美食和舞蹈。在这一集中，我们将去到沙劳越马当的 Sri Maha Mariamman 寺庙，体验印度传统文化。舞者们能在1天结束前学会这印度传统舞蹈吗？让我们一起尽情期待。
Minggu ini, kami bawakan kepada anda sebuah filem biografi hebat dari negara jiran. Filem ini mengisahkan kehidupan Presiden pertama Indonesia, Soekarno.
Tidak bisa haram hukum.
Beliau merupakan seorang daripada tokoh utama yang berjuang untuk kemerdekaan Indonesia dari jajahan Belanda. Filem ini juga dipilih untuk mewakili Indonesia dalam anugerah Akademi The Oscars yang ke-87 untuk kategori filem bahasa asing terbaik.
Tunjukkan siapa diri kita. Saya serahkan jiwa raja ini.
Jangan lupa untuk menyaksikan lakonan mantap Aryo Bayu sebagai Soekarno dalam filem arahan Hanung Bramantio. Sabtu ini, 8 Disember, 9 malam di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Lagi muda.
Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now, onto some global updates. Although the more infectious Omicron variant produces less severe symptoms than the Delta variant, it should not be categorized as mild, as clarified by the World Health Organization (WHO). The usage of this word has led to a misconception about the deadly variant.
While Omicron does appear to be less severe compared to Delta, especially in those vaccinated, it does not mean it should be categorized as mild. Just like previous variants, Omicron is hospitalizing people and it's killing people. In fact, the tsunami of cases is so huge and quick that it is overwhelming health systems around the world.
To date, Tedros disclosed that COVID-19, regardless of its numerous variants, has killed more than 5.8 million people globally. He then called for greater equity globally in the distribution and access to the COVID-19 vaccines.
To end the acute stage of the pandemic, the highly effective tools science has given us need to be shared fairly and quickly with all countries of the world. Vaccine inequity and health inequity overall were the biggest failures of last year. At the current pace of vaccine rollout, 109 countries would miss out on fully vaccinating 70% of their populations by the start of July 2022. The essence of the disparity is that some countries are moving toward vaccinating citizens a fourth time, while others haven't even had enough regular supply to vaccinate their health workers and those at most risk. Booster after booster in a small number of countries will not end a pandemic while billions remain completely unprotected. But we can and must turn it around.
While several countries are still hampered by the new wave of COVID-19 infections caused by the Omicron variant, a new variant of the virus has been identified in France, known as the IHU variant. It was first detected from a traveler who arrived from Cameroon, Central Africa. WHO, however, said the variant has been on their radar since September 2020, but is not considered a variant of interest (VOI) or variant of concern (VOC).
Circulating within France, less than 1% of the samples that were sequenced in France are of this particular variant. There's two sublineages of it, the B1640.1 and the B1640.2. We classify both of those as a variant under monitoring.
Health experts said they expect more variants to appear as COVID-19 continues to be around, but will not gain traction unless it is classified as VOI or VOC. Right, France has recorded the highest daily COVID infections to date, a whopping 3,332,000 cases in the last 24 hours with 246 deaths, further impairing the country's already overwhelmed health institutions. Its government had warned that infection figures were likely to soar in the coming days and was expected to reach 400,000 daily cases.
Ça m'inquiète au-delà des chiffres, moi je le constate surtout sur mon entourage. C'est-à-dire que jusqu'à présent, pas trop stressé par ce contexte-là, respect des gestes barrières, etc. Mais là, force est de constater que les taux se resserrent. Hier, moi j'ai 5 personnes qui m'ont annoncé qu'ils ont eu le Covid. Avant-hier, j'en avais peut-être à peu près la même chose. Donc là, clairement, oui, ça devient vraiment inquiétant. Pour la première fois, je sens vraiment les taux qui se resserrent.
Je me dis que c'est surtout que depuis que les gens se testent, donc les chiffres ils augmentent forcément. Maintenant, je ne saurais pas vous dire, je suis un peu dans l'inconnu, quoi.
The France Parliament recently approved President Emmanuel Macron's plans to implement a vaccine pass to help curb the spread of the Omicron variant. This would mean that the public can only enter venues such as cinemas or shopping malls, or even to use public transportation with this vaccine pass. More than 90% of France's population who are over the age of 12 years old have received at least 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. To this, a Parisian student still sees the silver lining amidst the spike of the COVID-19 infections.
Ça m'inquiète pas parce que je pense que d'un certain côté, le plus dur est déjà passé, le plus dur de l'épidémie. Maintenant, il faut juste vraiment apprendre à vivre avec le virus parce que c'est un virus, donc ça mute, donc il y en aura encore d'autres. Il ne faut pas céder à la peur.
Now, for the first time in 17 years, Billboard reported an increase of CD sales in the United States. Billboard shared data courtesy of MRC data, which showed a total of 40.59 million units of CDs sold in 2021, a slight increase from 40.16 million units in 2020. This jump in CD sales is due to a few top-selling artists, namely Adele, Taylor Swift, and BTS. Adele's new hit album 30 was the top-selling CD, with a total of 898,000 copies sold, while Swift took the second, third, and fourth spot with her recently re-recorded versions of Fearless, Red, and her second alternative folk album Evermore, selling 263,000 copies, 237,000 copies, and 213,000 copies respectively. K-pop sensational boy band BTS have also made their entry with two albums, where Map of the Soul 7 sold 210,000 copies and B, which sold 187,000 copies. 2021 marked the first year where CD sales saw a gain since 2004. Additionally, vinyl also saw its biggest sales last week, with an estimated total of 211 million vinyl albums sold, with Adele's 30 selling the most copies. And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. Follow TVSTVMY for more updates on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, I'm Muhammad Yusuf. Good night and stay safe.